Welcome to today's Seidokan Saturday. So today we're going to look at ishi sashi, or stone locks. These actually were another of the many improvised devices in Okinawa, and it's basically these little guys right here. Okay? They supposedly came from the locks on the door that the bar would slide through to bar the door. So these little inserts, these two handles, were supposedly made out of these stone and then inserted into the door. And they would use them for weights. So improvising ways to strengthen the body was one of the things that, or is how the Hojo exercises were derived. From the link of an anchor chain on a ship, becoming what's now known as a kongoken, the big oval steel bar that you'll see in some Naha systems. Moryo Higono used to love to use that one as well. To even just a simple stone barbell with stones on the end and a rod in the middle. Joe Weider invented an entire industry of providing fitness devices, barbells and dumbbells, to people because they didn't exist in the popular culture. He essentially invented what we now know as modern bodybuilding, but he started by creating a newsletter and then a mail-out order system for barbells to make them readily accessible so that people could get in shape. Hojo or auxiliary exercises, on their simplest level, just go to the gym. We have access to so much in the gym right now. My entire master's thesis in sports conditioning and human performance was on traditional Okinawan training methods and their corollaries in modern training. And so in that, one of the specific adaptations that I mentioned was the ishi sashi, or these stone locks, which essentially we can now get as kettlebells. Pick them up at any Walmart. First thing to understand, or maybe to review, because I've mentioned it before, is the concept of specific adaptation to imposed demand, SAID, said. Your body will adapt to exactly what you tell it to do. And so the Okinawans wanted to find ways to take the movements of their karate and put them into a method to make their bodies stronger, and so they added resistance or weights to them in a lot of ways. The other part was the conditioning, the hitting the makiwara, the wooden man, and the other things that I've shown you, the iron palm bag, which is also used for gripping, all the other things that we've covered to this point. So strengthening your body is a very important thing. Understand though that just because you're strong doesn't mean you're fast. Specific adaptation. Your body will respond to exactly what you tell it to do. If you tell it to move fast, then you need to have something light or something to assist you to move faster. If you add something that makes it harder to move faster, you're actually going to slow yourself down. They found that using the weighted bats doesn't speed up your swing. Sure, it feels faster after you've done a few with weights and then you put that down and you punch and you go, wow, I feel so fast. But in reality, if you're attempting to punch fast with a weight, you're slowing yourself down neurologically, and they found that the swing speed of a bat or a golf club actually slowed down by repeated use of something that was too heavy. If I'm playing football or baseball and I throw a weighted ball, I'm messing up my mechanics, and so I'm actually becoming less efficient and less fast. So separate your strength training from your speed training. They're not the same thing. When we're using weights, we're training strength, not speed, okay? If you want to train speed, things like running, they found that assisted running is much better. Running downhill builds up more speed, running uphill builds up more strength. So doing both kind of gives you a great combination. You give me a guy who's strong with a fighting attitude against a karate guy who knows loads of moves but never trains, hasn't built up his muscles, my money's on the first guy who's strong every time, okay? Had a guy, I've told this story before, my wrestling coach was very strong. He had a nephew who was a black belt, put his nephew in a headlock, but the nephew was weak, couldn't get out of the headlock. He knew the techniques, but could not apply them because he didn't have the strength to make them work. So a certain amount of strength in many movements is necessary. You can be very flexible, but not strong. I know a lot of people can swing their legs. I've worked with ballet dancers and theater dancers for years, and they can swing their legs way up in the air, but they weren't necessarily very strong. So they could tap you but they couldn't knock you out with that powerful kick. There's a big difference. All right, back to the Sashi. So the Ishi Sashi, again, specificity. For punching, if I'm using this for just basic punching, that's great for building strength, but what muscle am I strengthening? Well, gravity is pulling the weight this way, which means I'm resisting upward, not forward. Forward is my chest and triceps. That would be a push-up. But moving this way with the weight out here means I'm working my shoulders and my trapezius. You'll see a lot of our, you'll see coaches all the time tell boxers, fighters, keep your hands up, keep your hands up. It gets very tiring after a few rounds to have your hands up. So building that strength and endurance in the shoulders is important. But understand that that's what's happening if I'm doing a basic punching movement. I'm not building my punch. I'm not building my speed in punching. I'm building the strength in my shoulders. Kata that teach us to keep our hands up. Kusanku. You'll see this move as a standard Sashi movement. You may recognize it from our Seisan kata, so we can work it in conjunction with the cat stance, building the upper back and shoulders, okay? Sanchin kata, pressing, okay, coming from here. And again, I'm building my shoulders and trapezius. It also can help us work our grip. So instead of doing my punches from here and having the weight on top, what if I hold them this way? And now as I press out, I'm also keeping the weight from falling, so I have to grip the weight as I press it forward, okay? So holding it bell up without it turning. And this is another great curl with kettlebells to build your strength. So the Ishi Sashi, replicating our karate movements. Seisan kata again. Replicating your karate movements. Know that you're building strength, where you're building strength, and gear your exercises specifically for that. Last exercise that's fairly common with the Ishi Sashi, we did Tetsugeta last week, but if you don't have those, and you can go to Walmart and get a pair of 5 or 10 pound kettlebells, you can work the same thing with Sashi that you would have done with your Tetsugeta. Another common training methodology for the Ishi Sashi. Be creative, be innovative, build up your strength, get your exercise in, do your Hojo Undo auxiliary exercises. It's a great little device, handy. I will post in the link my entire master's thesis on Okinawan Hojo Undo and their modern corollaries. 78 pages long if you want to get through that. Enjoy. Until next week, thanks for joining and keep training.